Hello, my name is Ivo. I am a EU Fulbright scholar who is stationed at Spain and at Bulgaria. My home institution is the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and my institution in Spain is Pompeu Fabra University, and I study historical reconciliation. I applied to the Fulbright-Schuman program because I thought it was a very unique program that allows for an intellectual community of inquiry, but even more importantly than that, it allows you to do primary research in more than one country. I think that that type of collaborative effort allows people to engage in academic issues that really transcend national borders and allow somebody to see how the same issue, in my case historical memory, realistically develops within two disparate but similar societies that have undergone repressive regimes and have moved on to democratic societies. As far as the application process is concerned, I would advise people to start early and to have one thing in mind, to have a really interesting, engaging topic that has both a policy and an ethical dimension. I think that the synthesis between the two will allow them to craft a proposal that's interesting not only to themselves and to their immediate community of scholars, but also to people who are trying to create better, more intellectual, cogent, and engaging societies. The Fulbright-Schuman program, in terms of my career, has been, or I hope will be, one of the defining periods of my life. I am currently in academia. I am doing a master's in political science, technically European governance at the University of North Carolina. And the program has allowed me to do research that transports me back to Europe, where I'm originally from. I'm originally from Bulgaria. And it allows me to not only work with archives, which would have been impossible back in the States, but also to engage in policy and legal practitioners that I wouldn't have had any access to or point of reference. The program itself also takes a spirit of its own because one person introduces you to a different colleague, introduces you to a different archives, and in the end warps and changes the investigations that you had in mind. The investigation itself lends itself to new modes of inquiry, to new modes of investigation, and you become ever more deeply invested in it. I think that that is realistically the power of the EU Fulbright-Schuman program. It allows the researcher to have a very wide latitude of inquiry, but at the same time it creates the impetus for them to become ever more involved and ever more interested in their own research. As far as my experience in Spain, it wasn't what I expected it to be. I had studied in Salamanca, which is a small city about 2.5 hours away from Madrid by train, which is very traditional, I would say a bit conservative by Spanish standards, and tends to really be synonymous with what we as outsiders from Spain tend to think of Spanish identity. And when I was there, my conceptions of what Spain was, what its history was, were very much colored by that traditional Castilian identity. The Fulbright-Schuman transported me to a completely different autonomy of Spain, Catalonia, which has its own autonomy, a wide latitude of freedoms, and at the same time it has a very well-established history and policy platform, and the ability to really understand that different culture in a different language that is still Spanish in essence has challenged me to really reintegrate my notions of what I consider Spain to be, to reevaluate the historical discourse that I had accepted as normal, and it has forced me to really reevaluate my own origins as a Bulgarian and as a European, and definitely as an American, and to see within that interstitial space where do I position myself and how do I transition from being a tourist to a resident to a citizen and then to a semi-permanent member in the community. My advice to future researchers would be very much like those others given by any Fulbrighter. It's a formative experience. It will change your life. But when you do come to Europe, dive into it immediately. Don't hesitate. There will be cultural barriers, even if you speak the language perfectly fluently. There will be linguistic barriers that preclude you from really engaging in the community. But most importantly are the mental barriers that you yourself construct. There will be a community of knowledgeable, empathic, and really supportive scholars around you, but you shouldn't rely on them. You should go out, engage into the community, and realize that within such a short but extremely valuable opportunity, resilience is probably the most important characteristic. And the ability to really transcend your own limits of comfort will make the project into something infinitely more interesting than what was reflected on the original proposal. I would say I encourage everyone to study abroad, especially within the European Framework Program, and not to fear the application process, because while it is daunting, colleagues, scholars, professors, and friends can be valuable points of reference. And once that proposal has been written and sent, the only thing that could come out of it is something positive.